like to welcome everybody. I'm Ellen Siegel, one of the authors of this book. I'm also Irving Silverman's daughter. And today we are celebrating the launch of Aging Wisely, Wisdom of Our Elders. So I'm going to start with some numbers. The book is roughly 500 pages. There are 113 chapters, and those chapters are written by 75 different people. You, the contributors, range from age 18 to 103. Most of you are seniors. Among the chapter authors are 23 residents of Newbridge, 6 Newbridge staff members, and 8 faculty and students from William James College. You are priests, rabbis, ministers, psychotherapists, occupational therapists, pharmacists, doctors, nurses, lawyers, CEOs, Wall Street executives, entrepreneurs, educators, activists, scientists, writers, researchers, and people who hone their expertise in managing families and homes. This is an extraordinary bunch. I'm not sure how many are right here now, but we are expecting 43 of you here today. I'd like to share with you how this book came to be. Several people have asked me that. When he turned 95, my father decided it was time to write a book offering up the wisdom accumulated in his own long life and in the lives of his fellow Newbridge residents. That was the seed. But he wanted the book to be widely available, to be widely read, and that meant it needed to be more than just a Newbridge in-house production. So he convinced the publisher, Jones and Bartlett Learning, to publish it. That took effort. Kathy Esperti, our gifted editor and publisher at Jones and Bartlett, pushed him to include more contributors and a wider diversity of experiences and views. At times, it seemed impossible for this actually to happen. But as Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it is done. And now, it is done. The result is what you are all holding today. Here's what's different and special about our book compared to other books out there. Other books are written by academics or professional writers who interviewed elders and then distilled what they heard according to their own understandings. Those books explore what their experts/authors thought was important in aging. This book is written by seniors and people who work with seniors on topics of your own choosing. Instead of responding to someone else's questions, you picked what was important to you and wrote in your own words. And here's what's so important about that. Many of the readers of this book will be young people, students of gerontology and of the helping and healing arts, and many of them have never heard the genuine voices of elders or their helpers, only the pre-digested versions offered in their textbooks. In this book, they get to see and hear you, what you think about, what you know, what you care about, and even how you express yourselves. They get all that directly. The result is, they see that older age is a time of richness and reflection, a time that is genuinely a time of wisdom. I mentioned students before, but there's a second, even bigger audience for this book. Other seniors, and I hope everyone, aspiring to our own continuing long lives. The demographics of this country have begun to change. Baby boomers are becoming seniors. By 2050, over 20% of the population will be 65 or older, and nearly 8% will be over 80. That's about twice the numbers as from today. For those of us who are already seniors, hearing from our fellows can help us make decisions about how to live our lives right now. For those who are younger, hearing what seniors say here can guide them for their futures. All of us have to face now or later decisions about how to manage our health, both physical and emotional, using our strengths and building new ones, relating to others, overcoming obstacles, and practical questions, like where to live, whether to continue driving, and managing money. Hopefully, we get to think about how to find fulfillment as we age. And in all likelihood, we are thinking about the role of religion or spirituality, what we want in terms of end-of-life care, how to live with losses, and how we want to be remembered, the legacy we want to leave behind. One more thing. The title of this book mentions wisdom, not once, but twice. One thing I have learned in the process of putting this book together is how much wisdom people do acquire as they grow older. This book represents an effort to share that wisdom with others, and I salute all of you for the generosity of spirit as well as the talent to do that sharing. I'd like to say just a few words about my involvement with this book. To be honest, at the beginning, I saw it as a project to keep my father happily occupied for a long time. But as I read and reread the chapters, and I've read all of them probably 5 or 6 times, I became excited. We've created a novel and significant contribution to the literature on aging, a topic that every day becomes more socially relevant. Like my father from the outset, like all of you who are here today, I became passionate about what we had done and what we are doing here. So congratulations to all of us on a job very well done. And now, I want to turn the floor over to a few of you. Instead of my using up any more time in introducing the speakers, I'm going to ask each of you to please give your name when you start speaking. We'll start with Steve Colwell. And Steve, if you would pass the mic down to the next speaker, we'll go straight down the line, concluding by coming back to my father, Irving Silverman.
So, hello everybody. I am Steve Poe. I'm the Executive Director here at Newbridge. I first want to thank Charlotte Modeste for her beautiful piano playing as well. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about the book. I'm actually going to talk about the man behind the book, because I know you had a birthday. You're 97 now, and I feel like a complete slug when I'm next to this guy. I mean, talk about a force of nature, a person who makes things happen. I've never known anyone who ever saw barriers like he does as amazing opportunities to actually draw out more from each of us. And if you wrote one chapter, you were probably asked for a second. And for those of you who only wrote one chapter, you were probably like, I can't do it, it's too much. And I bet Irving got to you and made sure that you were a contributor. And it's to your credit that it is such a rich book. I cannot believe the size of it, and I cannot believe the depth of the chapters. And I certainly don't have that creativity. And to have you be able to draw us all in and have us be part of it, I cannot begin to tell you how honored I am that I also got to play a part. So I just want to say thank you, Irving. This is wonderful.
Hello everybody, I'm Judy Ehrlich. I'm the Rabbi and Interfaith Chaplain here at Newbridge. When Irving asked me to write for this book, just as Steve said, he came at it with a great deal of enthusiasm and made it clear that this was something that was going to happen. But what moved me really and motivated me the most was something that Irving said to me, and that is that he's had the blessing of living so long and still being ongoing, and he wanted to share the blessing of his longevity with others by collecting material from others who have had the same blessing of aging and aging wisely. And it was his generosity, his generous engagement with the world, which is really a remarkable quality that Irving has. He never gives up. He's got a lot to live for because he's got a lot more still to give. The chapter that I wrote about caring and being cared for, a reciprocal relationship, is a topic that I feel I have been privileged to learn so much about from the many, many elders that I've encountered and gotten to know well through my work at Hebrew Senior Life. I chose to write about one particular person, Elsa Pollock, who lived at Orchard Cove, The reason I chose her was because I wanted to have some concrete examples and not just give a theoretical account of something that had moved me. And so I focused on one particular person. But the truth is that it is a tribute to all of my mentors that I've learned about this notion of generous engagement with the world, and how sometimes as people grow older and need to depend on assistance from other people, the ability to give generously of ourselves to those who care for us so that they feel truly blessed every time they engage with us is a very empowering and beautiful thing that I learned firsthand from Elsa and from many other people who've been in that situation. And so thank you, Irving, for pushing me to sit down and write, and for helping me to distill my thoughts on generous engagement with the world. And now, Sam Muir.
Do I have to stand? No. Thank you, because I want to read something in a minute. But so first, I'd just like to simply congratulate the editors, both for their inspiration and their perspiration. They certainly had to inspire the publisher quite a few times. I was I was aware of that, and they also had to inspire the writers continuously, not only for writing one, as we've heard, but for writing several chapters. It is clear that Irving needs this in order to keep going. So we know that if he keeps doing projects like this, he will end up living to be 120. So let's hope that he starts another project, but this time, I think Ellen needs a little bit of relaxation.
That's when my next book will come.
Well,
Good thing you have other children.
I would just like to read a couple of stanzas from my wife's poem that's in this book, since she's not able to do so. The poem is called The Other Side of Time by Leanne. And I'll just read the first and last stanza. You can read the in-between ones at your leisure. The Other Side of Time. Once when the sky hung low over life, I looked beyond the sun and saw there what the days to come might bring. The mirrored clouds showed even beyond that into the thoughts of tomorrow and the hauntings of the years before nights began. The dew and the secrecy of the trees hid our youthful fancies from the world that had already learned it was all just a lie. In the center of our universe, the perfection seemed real, and the real seemed real, and the real seemed grotesque, but all so far away in a time that would surely never come. And if it came indeed, it would not touch us, not me. But it came, in fact, rolling in on a billowing wave as quickly as it does for every man. And though I tried to run away, it found me, nevertheless, in the end. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brenda Keegan, and I've been at Newbridge about 1.5 years now. But when I first arrived, and I was still unpacking boxes, a new friend called me one night and asked me if I would be willing to contribute to this book that Irving was putting out. I didn't know Irving at the time. I had heard about him, always in hushed tones. He would say, "Do you know Irving Silverman?" And I didn't actually until yesterday, when I had the pleasure of coming to his apartment and meeting him and talking with him, and found out how wise and wonderful he is, and why we should all feel honored to be part of his book. But back to the beginning, when I was asked to contribute, I was feeling overwhelmed. I still had all these boxes everywhere, I couldn't find anything. And so I thought, well, what can I do? And I decided maybe I could contribute a piece that I had actually written for my 50th year reunion at Wellesley College. What I had written about was feeling like a failure. And the reason that I felt like a failure at that time in my life, despite a certain amount of academic and career success and 2 wonderfully successful children, the reason I felt that way was because my husband had left me after many, many years of marriage. And I had written it, I think, as a sort of confessional to my classmates, because as I heard about their lives, I never heard about anyone going through a divorce. I knew it with a few people privately, but the alumni news, when it comes out, talks about marriages and children and career success and children's success and marriages and children. Nobody ever talks about divorces. In my family, there was no such thing ever before, and so I felt very much like a failure, and I didn't understand it at all. But I had written it. My classmates really didn't say much about it at the time. I always thought maybe they felt sorry for me. And so why on earth I put it forward at this point, I don't know. But I assumed it would be rejected, that they wouldn't want somebody writing about failure in this book. However, to my great surprise, the lovely Ellen wrote back to me. It said some wonderful things and said they had accepted it. And they were going to include it in the book. And so I was happy, and she later sort of talked me through this and asked me if I'd say a few words today. I just came back from my 55th reunion at college, and I don't know whether people are talking more about these things in their lives now, but I found out that almost all of my classmates have been divorced once, or twice, or 3 times. And so I felt less as some kind of anomaly. And as I listened to their stories and thought about mine in those 5 years since that time, what really struck me was how successful we've been. I had to make new friends. I had to create a new social life. I had to move from one house that I was used to another place. I had to learn to manage bank accounts and lots of things I had never done. There was a great deal I started to travel with friends. A great deal that I learned to do in my life, even fix a circuit breaker, if I was there alone. And finally, after a number of these adventures, I was emboldened to send an email to somebody I had been romantically involved with back in 1959, a poet from Amherst College, and he responded. His wife has passed away, and we now spend a lot of time giving each other a great deal of joy. I'm happy he's here today. I'm happy he's in my life, and I'm trying to do better than I did with the first romance. We just planted a wonderful garden on the vineyard, and we're thrilled about going forward with our lives. So if I wrote the piece today, I would write a different story. And I'm a little sorry that I wrote about failure in this, but I think for these geriatric students who will read it, maybe it's important to know that not everybody is a success. Lots of people feel like failures, but you can still turn it around after that. And Irving, maybe that's what I'll write for your next book. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Len Green, and I've been a resident here I just celebrated my 7th anniversary. I'm standing because I said to Ellen a few minutes ago, I did not expect this particular setting. I thought what we customarily do is that microphone is passed around the audience, and if anyone wants to say a word or two, then the microphone is passed. So I didn't expect quite a formal setting like this. So, therefore, you'll excuse me, but I prepared a few remarks that I want to make directly to Irving. Irving, I have been impressed, and you have impressed many other people with your energy and with your creativity. And I particularly want to congratulate you on the publication of your book. And I congratulate Ellen also. You have been an inspiration to me, Irving, and to a great many other people here. And in conclusion, I thank you.
I am not Clark Ebb. My name is John Averill. I'm a resident here since August 2010 with my wife. I wrote 2 chapters here, and the one I was going to say a few words about is sharing one's experiences through talking. Actually, probably communication is a better word than talking in this case. What I really mean is the sharing of thoughts, feelings, warnings, what's in my mind. Homo sapiens distinguished itself through language, always more complex, always in this attempt to communicate. Writing became the critical extension of talking. Talk lasts as long as I can remember it, and we all know how long that is. But writing lasts as long as it can be stored and readable. And I'm going to say something parenthetical about that I hadn't written, because my seatmate Sherry next to me and I have spent most of our lives as software developers. She goes back to IBM 360s. I go back to IBM 7090s. And there's all this information that computers have now. We think it's stored. It will not be readable forever. What's in the book will probably be readable than things that are in the cloud now. Just thought I'd mention it. So I realized that when I neared about 80 years old, I was the last in my generation. I couldn't ask anybody. I couldn't ask my dad, my mom, my aunt, my late brother questions about long ago. When my wife and I came to Newbridge, I soon started a resident journal called The Bridge, which many of you have contributed to, with personal stories and experiences for residents, by residents. And with my colleague Ed Goldstein, we have provided a way for our friends to share their experiences with other friends, and in some ways more important, their own families to have. So if you don't choose to talk to your family and friends now, at least write it down while you age wisely. You may never know how important it will be to them and others in the future. Irving Silverman chose an even more extensive project, and I applaud him for pulling together this wonderful collection of shared thoughts and experiences. The words in this book will outlast us all.
Hi, I'm Sherry Mead, and I've known Irving Silverman for 70 years. Actually, Irving is like my second father, as he and my dad were best friends for more than 65 years, beginning when they were 8-year-old boys living next door to each other. Irv introduced my parents to one another, and Irv's first wife, Henrietta, was my mother's best friend. The two couples were inseparable and shared many activities. Naturally, when they started having children, Ellen and I were 2 weeks apart, and now we have been best friends, BFFs, for 70 years. We have continued the tradition, and our children are the 3rd generation best friends. Unfortunately, we lost my parents over 20 years ago, but Irving has been there for me ever since, and I do love him dearly. When Ellen first told me about this book, I cringed at the thought of how much work it was going to be for both Irv and Ellen. Yet knowing each of them, I figured that somehow they would make it work and manage to pull it together. And if I could help, I would. I decided to use this project as an opportunity to learn more about my mother-in-law, Irene Smith. She is a 93-year-old ball of fire and joy, and I hope I can be like her when I grow up. She still lives independently in her family home of more than 40 years, and continues to drive in order to maintain her lifestyle. She has written about those experiences, and you'll see in chapters 63 and 65. She's in Alexandria, Virginia, and couldn't make it here, but she sends her love. Of course, she has slowed down a bit, but is still very much aware of what is important in her life and how to live each day to the fullest. I worked with Irene to write 2 chapters in our book and couldn't have been more proud to do that. Spending the time with her to pick her brain was not only delightful, but rewarding and educational. She does have great wisdom to share, and I so appreciated the time I spent. I also helped Ellen with some editing. As I read some of your wonderful chapters, my dear fellow writers, it came to my mind that I wanted to share some of my own aging experiences. To me, the most important aspect of my life is my family, and particularly my grandchildren. I am blessed with 9 grandchildren, and I couldn't be happier about that. I truly believe that helping to raise grandchildren is the best thing about aging. Teaching my grandchildren to be good people, mentions, to embrace diversity, to help repair our broken world, to be generous and loving, and to know that they are unconditionally loved is what I expect to share, and I hope to share as I age. I hope you feel that way too. It has been my greatest pleasure to work with Ellen, my oldest and dearest friend, and to be part of this wonderful project. Congratulations to all of us. Ellen, I love you with all my heart.
Last but not least, I had a very long speech to make, but Ellen, who in a sense has been guiding a lot of this launch party, said, "Dad, you're limited to 3 minutes." I said, it takes me 3 minutes to say my name. Seriously, I want to thank each and every one of you who's a wonderful contributor to this book. It started out originally as a book written by Irving. Irving did one book before, and that book is called The Trilogy. And for those of you who live here, you know you can see the book and read the book in the library here. But somewhere along the line, I decided that I wanted to do something beyond talking about Irving in his first book, and of course talking about his 2 wives in this first book as well. So this book became an effort to talk about living longer. And the original title of the book was How to Live to be 120. When I presented that title to the book publisher, they said, people don't live until 120, so that's not going to be a selling book. So somewhere along the line, the book title got changed from that title to the title of Aging Wisely. And really, that's what it's all about. In terms of the fact that those people who have achieved some degree of nonagenarian status realized that there are no secrets about living longer. What there is the fact that you can do all of the things that are necessary, and you do a lot of listening as well. I want to thank each and every one of you who contributed, but in addition, I want to thank the additional members of your family who came to this book launch party. Because in a way, this shows a kind of affection for somebody that you don't even know, but you heard about. And if that's the case, I thank you very, very much. I want to express thanks to some special people who are in the audience, and I'm sure that they are here, although they haven't come to see me at the end of the room. So, but before I get to those people who might be here, I want to talk about the one who made this book possible, and that's my daughter, Ellen Beth Siegel. She did a miraculous job of contacting virtually all of you and eliciting from you a lot of information that enabled us to diversify the book and extend the scope of the book beyond just the idea of a single individual. This book originally was thought to be a book about Newbridge. Newbridge is a great institution, and I'm privileged to be one of the older people in Newbridge. I started out being the 24th oldest person here. I'm now the 12th oldest person here. And I expect to probably be the oldest person who's living here. And with Steve's help, who's a part of my family, by the way, I'm going to continue living here and enjoying the benefits of maturity and longevity. I also want to pay particular tribute to a few special people who have earned praise from me. I haven't enough words to say thank you to Ellen. But you know, I picked Ellen out in the nursery when she was born. I knew right away that this was going to be the star of the Silverman family. And as a matter of fact, she's turned out to be exactly that. This book could never have seen the light of day if it didn't have her wonderful magical touch. She embroidered the book and brought life to each chapter. And as a matter of fact, she introduced so many different nuances and so many different additional ideas to the book. So that, for instance, tonight, or this afternoon actually, she came up with an idea that didn't even occur to me. When you entered the room here, you were asked to write a note in my own copy of the book, so that I will have that as a treasure to read and reread as well. So I want to thank especially Ellen for all of the wonderful things that she has done for me as a daughter, and as well as somebody who has enriched my life. And one of the reasons that I was desirous of coming to Boston area was that I could be close to the Siegel family that are part of the Silverman family as well. So I thank you very, very much, Ellen, for being who you are and what you are. Thank you. I want to say special thanks to a most unusual young woman. One of the things that I decided to do, because my vision was getting poorer and poorer, and I was unable to read, so I approached one of the staff people here, Linda Busgang, and asked her if she could find somebody who could be a reader to me. And she found a volunteer, Mariah McKenzie, and she came to see me the first visit. I gave her one of the books that I wanted her to read to me. She did that, And after about 8 weeks, I came up with another idea. I said, you know, I'm in the midst of writing a book, but I'm not going to be able to do it by myself because I can no longer effectively use the computer. My hand doesn't work anymore. Would you be willing to accept the responsibility of my dictating the book to you? And she said, yes, she did. So from that point on, she came every week for virtually 6 to 8 months, and I dictated chapter after chapter. There are only 15 chapters in the book that I actually wrote. The rest of the time was devoted to discussing things about her. So I want to pay tribute to her, and I would ask if she's in the room now to have us stand up to be acknowledged. Mariah McKenzie. Who loaned their daughter to me for this entire year. We lucked out in terms of finding a publisher for this book. My first book was self-published. I did not have the best experience with that, so I decided that I wanted to find a commercial publisher, and with the help of Sam Lara and his wife, who may not have been able to actually voice the suggestion, but they introduced me to Jones and Bartlett Learning. And this was a spectacle beyond expression. They cooperated with us beyond belief, and we made a lot of requests. Ellen and I made a lot of requests to Jones and Bartlett, and they responded favorably to about 90% of them, including the fact that the publisher of the book, the publisher of the company, Kathy Isperky, has 2 parents that are now aging, and they were observing an anniversary. And she decided to give them a present. And can you imagine what present she would give to her parents? She honored me by giving them a copy of Aging Wisely. And that was something that endeared me to her greatly. I also want to thank Steve Caldwell and team here of Newbridge that embraced this idea of having a book coming originally from Newbridge residents. The first person who responded to my request through the website that we have here for residents, when I addressed that to the community and asked to solicit authors to collaborate with me, was Steve Caldwell. He said, I think this is a great idea and I would like to participate. Can you suggest to me some titles of some subject areas that you would like to include in the book? I sent him a list, 40 topics. He called me back within 2 days. He said, I'll take 3. And he has contributed 3 chapters to the book, including an additional one, because he said, I want to write a foreword as well. So we have that, and I want to thank him on behalf of the entire staff of Newbridge for embracing Irving as a I was about to say some compliments about myself, but that wouldn't be appropriate. The last chapter in the book is a chapter that I wrote. It's the 15th chapter of my creation. It's entitled Today, Tomorrow, and the Future. As I celebrated my 97th birthday 6 days ago, I said to myself, you know, I want to leave a legacy beyond my lifetime. I'm going to be living, hopefully, a long time. So it may take a long time to be able to get to the time when it will actually be, I will not be here. But Steve, I'm going to be here a long time. And I hope that meets with your approval and with the approval of Lou Woods Wolf about my staying here for a long time. The chapter in the book, and I'll just read some excerpts from it. Who am I? What do I believe in? What do I still want to accomplish? What have I accomplished in the past? And what do I hope for the world? I have a lot to say about this subject because I believe in life as a two-time winner in terms of the fact that I have been privileged to be married to two remarkable women as my wives. One of them was Ellen's mother. Ellen's mother gave birth to Ellen and also my son, Bill, and you'll meet him at the reception. It's very difficult to encapsulate a full lifetime, a lifetime of living, of dreaming, of hoping, a lifetime of loving, a lifetime of achieving, and a lifetime of advising. I like all of those opportunities. And as a matter of fact, now that this book has seen the light of day, and I've had the privilege of seeing what results from having a published book, your attendance here has enriched my life to the point where you probably have added 5 to 10 years to my life, and I hope you appreciate that. You also will be invited to all of the anniversaries of my birth as they come up. I have lived somewhat of a successful life. I've had a wonderful career. I've overcome a lot of adversities. I was born legally blind. I was not allowed to go to a regular elementary school. In those days, back in 1926, when I entered school, they had a program called Site Conservation Class for those people who were visually impaired. So they enrolled me into that school, but then they didn't know what to do with me because I couldn't take any of the courses that they gave in that school, such as radio mechanics, aviation mechanics, butchering. So they came up with very wise suggestion. There was a course, and that was a course of home economics. So they put me into a class with 40 girls, and I learned how to make beds and cook. But I've also been privileged, as my life went on, to have guardian angels come into my life. And one of the guardian angels in this vocational school was the nurse. And she recognized in me that there's something more to this man, to this young man, than being a student here. So she arranged for me to be admitted into a high school upon my graduation from the site conservation class. And from that point on, I've had successive guardian angels look after Irving. Some of them were my family, some of them were strangers, but they have done things that have enriched my opportunities. When it came time for me to graduate from high school, it was my beloved brother, Harry, who I miss tremendously, said, "Irving, you're going to college." I said, "Harry, I can't go to college. They don't have large print books in college." He says, "You'll manage somehow or other. You'll always find a way." So we did, and I was accepted at City College of New York. From that point on, I pursued a career in writing and in advertising and in publishing. I learned a lot about that experience. But most of all, I learned the secret of longevity. And the secret of longevity is to ask for help. When you need something, ask for help. I do that constantly and successfully. And I think that that's what I pass on to you. I hope that you will like the book that was made possible by the residents here of Newbridge and others, and that you might pass on the book to other people who might want to live longer. I thank you very, very much for your attendance at this Butch Book Launch Party. And now it's time for you to go into the reception area to converse with all of your collaborators and friends. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Just celebrate together.
You cannot say that. I know that.
How are you, Bill? Doing well?
Oh,